Hi and welcome to Mumma Bear's garden. Today we're going to be down here discussing the seasons basically, and when I should and shouldn't be planting in my vegetable gardens. It's a very important part of knowing when to put a garden in, because if you're planting them in at the wrong time, they don't do well, and if you plant them in too late, they're not going to do well as well. Hi everyone, my name is Kim, and today I'm sitting down here under the pear tree. You probably can't see the pear tree, but I am sitting under the pear tree. Now, today is the 1st of November, but summer around here has not been coming very quickly at all. It has still been raining. It has been really cold. We even put our fire back on over the weekend and it's still on today. You'll see the sun come out every now and again from behind the clouds. This fly wants me to eat him. Flies usually have a very good sign that summer is coming when they start to come out, but this year the season seems to be very delayed. About probably 3 or 4 weeks delayed. By now I would have gotten all of my veggies in and they would have been sprouting. So usually at the beginning of October to the middle of October, and then a few things at the end of October, which is usually my transplants such as my tomatoes and things like that. But they've been up in the greenhouse for probably, I think it's about 2 months or so now, and they're only about 1 inch tall. I don't understand what's going on there. I don't know whether it is because I've used something different this year, but I am happy with what I used this year, so I'm putting it down to the weather, that it just has not been warm enough for them. Our plants, like us, like certain weather better than other weathers. So I'm not sure if you know what I mean by that, but there are certain seeds that will not germinate until the soil itself gets to a certain temperature. And a lot of your summer crops are like that. They do not like to germinate until the soil starts to warm up. Now, I don't know what these temperatures are offhand. I'll put them down the bottom if I can find that for you guys, so you can get an idea of what that's like. Now, I have planted in some things. You'll have seen probably the video on did I plant in melon ball patch too early. I've got some video footage here of this morning, so that you can see how they're doing today. Some of them are doing really well. Some of them have been eaten by snails, which is what one of my biggest worries was, because when we still get rain and the cool nights, the snails still come out. They don't hibernate or do whatever it is that they do during summer. I don't know what they do, but they're always there. But as soon as it rains, they come out and they start eating up all of the very little seedlings that are in the ground. Now, so I'm fighting with them. I've had to use some snail pellets. It's the only thing I use in my garden, because snails just, doesn't matter how many times or how much you come out at night time, there is always a snail that it will demolish off a seedling overnight. I have planted in one garden bed at Snow Pea Garden, which I've put in my beans. I put some cucumbers in there, my pickling cucumbers, so it was 2 varieties of beans that I put down in there as well. They were dwarf beans. They have just started to sprout. One end of it has, the other end hasn't. I'm thinking because we got this last few days was really cold, that it's possible that a lot of those seeds in there will not sprout the day I put them in there. It was a nice warm, it'd be a little bit warmer day. Thinking that it's that time of year where I would normally plant these in, so I planted them in, and now I'm not sure if they're going to do very well. What I have noticed though, because we are still getting a lot of rain and all of that kind of stuff, a lot of my weeds are still growing quite rapidly and getting really quite big. So that's another indication that the weather has not warmed up, the soil has not warmed up enough for me to put my seeds in to start growing my summer garden. I should normally have had my corn in by now. I have no corn in yet. I am still waiting. So I know that if I keep waiting, that there's a chance that I'm not going to get a crop by the end of the summer. But if my summer has started later, there's a high chance that my summer is going to finish later as well. So hopefully, being probably 3 to 4 weeks behind, it should actually be 3 to 4 weeks before it starts to cool down at the end of the season as well, and before the rains start to come through. I do think, I did notice last year things were a little bit different to the previous year with weather, but nowhere near as far behind as what they are now. So for the 1st of November, you can see up here there is clouds. I believe I'm going to get a bit more rain today. Yes, rain is good for our veggie gardens, but like I said, if the soil is not warm enough, seeds are not going to germinate, especially for our summer crops. So I hope you guys understand what I mean by that, and that if you haven't already got your crops in, don't worry, you're not the only one that hasn't got them in. Be patient and just wait another week and see how it goes. I'll put up the side here. The forecast for the next week, our lows are 5 to 9 degrees overnight, which is really quite cold. Seeds are not going to germinate with that temperature, and the highest range we're getting is about the 20 degrees over the coming weeks, which is also not very high as well. We just need to wait and be patient. Every year things will change a little bit with what goes on in the world. You know, I'm not big into, I don't want to wreck the environment, but I'm do what I need to do as well, and I know that what we do does make a big difference to the weather patterns. I mean, you just take a look at some of the weather they've had in different parts of the country, Australia itself, over east, and in other countries as well. It's the world's changing, so we need to just take a little bit of note of how the weather's changing, and push things back just a little bit as we can. So one of the other things I noticed that made me realize that the season was way behind is up at Carrot Top. In there I have salads mixes, and I have spinaches and things like that. One of them is the perpetual spinach, which always goes to seed and then produces more again the following year. It did not go to seed. It is still green seeded at the moment, so it has seeds. So by this stage I would have ripped that out and cleaned that garden bed out completely. But I've been sort of waiting. I like to wait till everything up there goes to seed, so that next year I don't have to plant in a lot of that stuff. It just automatically comes up when the weather cools off, and I have salad leaves and greens without having to actually plant seeds in. So that was another thing that made me realize that the weather season and the weather pattern has changed here in southwest Western Australia. So so I didn't really want to go into too much depth into this kind of thing. It's not something I'm about, but I just wanted to let you know the reason why I have not yet put my garden in yet is because it is just simply not warm enough for the seeds to germinate. So I'm going to wait another week and see what next week's forecast shows me, and maybe beginning of next week, you know, around the 7th or 8th of November, I might actually start getting in my seeds But hopefully during this next week, I know I have other commitments with work and my son and family stuff on the weekend, that I'm hoping to get out and do a little bit more weeding and finishing off some more garden beds. And that's another thing, I'm way behind with my garden beds as well, getting them prepped and sorted. But at the end of the day, as long as I'm getting something in the ground, I'm going to be happy. So I know that I'm probably going to, I know I did a reseeding again in Melon Ball Patch, but I'm going to take another look again when I start putting the corn in, and if I need to, I will put some more seeds in as well. So the snails in there have really demolished off a lot of the seedlings, so I'm going to have to start again. So, you know, there's a whole bunch of things that have indicated to me that it's just not time to plant them in. You know, so you've got your snails are still coming out because it's still cold. There is still way too much rain around. There is not enough sun. The day temperatures and night temperatures haven't come up to the right temperatures. My veggies just aren't growing. What I've got in the ground are not doing well at all. But yeah, so there's a whole bunch of things that indicate to me that it's just not time to be planting them in. If you want to plant them in, you can go ahead and plant them. I'm just letting you guys know that what I see and for what I know that my garden will or won't do. This is my third year with this specific garden, and I know that from the previous couple of years that if I plant in too early, the snails will eat it. If I plant in too early, the weather is not hot enough for things to sprout. So, but now I just got to hope that the summer season has pushed back at the end of the season so that I can still get my crops done. You know, the only main things that I will lose out on if the end of the season hasn't changed is things like my corn and pumpkins and watermelons. So the long season crops are the ones I'll miss out on. I'll still get capsicums and chilies and zucchinis and yellow squash. What else am I getting in here? Tomatoes, I'll still get tomatoes. I may lose a heap of tomatoes because we don't generally eat green tomatoes or anything like that. So, but I will get tomatoes before the weather changes. You know, beetroot, carrot, all of that kind of stuff. We will still get a lot of that kind of crop before the end of the season because it just grows and you harvest it as it's ready throughout the season. But the things like the corn, which takes all season, watermelon and pumpkin takes the full season as well. Pumpkin is usually ready a little bit before the watermelon, but so this year is going to be very interesting to see how things come out at the end of the season and how much I'm going to get. If this weather doesn't start warming up soon, then this year's garden may not even be much of a garden at all. But yeah, hopefully it does, and it will warm up. But it just all depends on how much time I've got then before it cools back down again. So alright, so that's probably about it, guys. I just wanted to bring you out here and just quickly discuss. I know it's probably not very quickly. I always say I should stop saying that word, quickly do something, because there is no such thing as there. But yeah, so I wanted to bring you out here and discuss with you guys if any of you were wondering why I haven't put in my garden, and that is because it's simply not warm enough yet. And that is pretty much what it is. There's a whole bunch of signs it's not warm enough, so I am patiently trying to be patient and waiting for the right time and the right temperature. So my garden is going to be 3 to 4 weeks behind, but there is nothing I can do about that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and it gives you a little bit of something to think about and take a look at your garden, and you might understand why some things aren't doing quite well, and then you can make that decision on are you going to replant again in a couple of weeks, because there's no harm at all in reseeding or pulling out what you've got and putting in something else that is going to do better if the weather is changing to come up better. Don't give up. Never give up. I still grow things that don't do well here, but I still get something. Yellow squash, I've never had it do well here, but I still grow it every year, and I just grow a whole heap of plants and I get maybe a couple of dozen yellow squash off of it, but I still grow it because I still like that vegetable and I still want that vegetable on my dinner plate at the end of the day. So don't give up, be patient. You will know when I start planting in that the weather is the right time to get it planted in. So if you have to reseed, it doesn't matter. You know, this is why I grow everything from seed, because it means that it doesn't cost me much to reseed in an area if the seeds are not doing well, if they haven't germinated. At this stage, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my tomatoes. I'm going to probably plant them out when the weather comes a bit warmer and just see if they will actually take off. If not, I'm either going to, I don't like buying starts, they're really expensive. You pay $5.95 for one single tomato plant and you just don't know what you're going to do. So you could spend $100 on tomato plants and you might not get anything. But I may do some reseeding of tomato plants and see if I can get something. So this might be a non-good year for tomatoes. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. So just be patient. We will get this garden in at some stage. I'm not sure what else I can tell you guys, but just be patient and we will get there. Right, so that is it from me here, Kim, down at Mumma Bear's garden. Don't forget, I'll stick some videos on the side here for you to check out. And guys, if you want to see my preserving channel, that is down in the description, so you'll have to go over there and subscribe over there. There's only a small subscription crew over there at the moment, but I think that's because a lot of people aren't aware that I've split my videos in my, a lot of people aren't aware I've split my channel into three, because some people don't want to watch the preserving side of things, they just want to watch the gardening side of things. And I also have a cooking channel as well. Now that cooking channel, basically I just show you how that I use my preserved foods. I don't do ingredient quantities. I certainly don't write recipes down the bottom. It's there simply to give you ideas on how to use your preserved foods and how to think outside of the little square box that we all think is a recipe that we have to follow. I don't follow recipes. I might go online myself or look at a recipe book and get a couple of recipes, and I'll just take the bits from each of those recipes that I think that I'm going to like, and that is what I make. I use a lot of my preserves in that cooking, my cooking meals of those. I do have at some stage, I will be doing a video on some freezer meals I've done. That's not something I normally do for my channel, but I have a heap of freezer meals that I've done. I'm just wanted to show you those basically because with the season that we're going to have, if you're planting in a large garden of vegetables, you're going to be tired at the end of the day. So having something in the freezer that is homemade still, then you can just thaw it out or just throw it in the slow cooker or the pressure cooker or whatever it is, and you've got a beautiful meal at the end of the day when you've spent the day canning and doing whatever you want. So if you go head on over there as well, the links are down in the description down here. Then you will find my cooking recipes and my preserving recipes. at the moment there is some on this channel, preserving ones as well, but over that is where I'm going to be putting all of my next lot of this upcoming season of 2022-2023. So if you want to see them, you're going to have to go head on over there as well and hit the subscription button over there. They are two small channels that haven't been up and running for very long, so there's not a lot on there, especially considering I'm not really doing a lot of preserving at the moment. So till next time, guys, I will see you out in the garden here again, and thanks for joining me, and please don't give up. See you till next time. There was a bee flying really, really close to me. I don't have problems with bees, as long as they don't land on me.